Hey everyone, this is Daniel, and in today I'm continuing my Power Platform Hidden Gem series, but there's a little something special about this one. In this one, I'm going to be focusing primarily on the date picker control, and that's why I call this as the date picker special. And in this one, I'm going to show very specific things. I'm going to show you the 8 things that you can actually do, and then the 2 things that you cannot do, and then for one of it, I'll even show a workaround. So about the 8 things that you can do, these are the 8 things that I'm going to talk about. And as you can see, there's quite a lot of them. I'll start off with the easy ones that you're already familiar with, and then I'll hit those big ones, which are those big aha moments that you're going to get. And so those will be for the 8 of them. And then for the 2 things, these are the 2 over there. And for some of them, I can even show some workarounds, but mostly these are the 2 things over there. So hopefully you have a good idea what this video is about. And now, enough with the talking, let's jump into the demo. So let me continue now with the demo piece, and I'm going to go ahead and escape out of this one over here, and I'll go ahead and start building a new app. So I've come to the studio over here, and I'll click on new, I'll go to canvas, and the canvas is opening up. For this one, I'm going to use a tablet layout, and there's no difference between the tablet or the phone. You can use either one of them. So I'll just click skip. First things first, you've got to go ahead and save it. So I'll do Hidden Gems Series 9. Put in some different colors. Save it. Now we're all good to move forward with. Okay. So first things first, I'm going to start with something very simple. Obviously, I'll go ahead and come to Insert, and I'll under the input, here is our date picker control. All right, so that's the one that I'll be focusing on pretty much the entire video over here. What I will do is, ever since I've been testing them, I'll delete it. That way, if any settings are there and they, for some reason, conflict against each other, I might just delete it and bring it back. So for your case, you don't have to keep deleting the control and coming it back. Since I'm doing a lot of demoing, just to make sure I don't confuse myself, I'm going ahead and deleting it and bringing it back. All right, so that's just a simple thing that I'm doing over there. Okay, so the first thing I want to talk about in this date picker is the whole option of clicking and moving the dates or moving the months. This is basically what I've seen people do, and this is one thing I did as well. I'll come over here to play, I'll click over here, and then I've been selecting it to go to a different month. For example, my birthday is May 19th, which is next month. So when I come over here to May 19th, I want to click on it, and then I come over here and click on 19th, and I click on OK. Completely fine. That's exactly how you do it. But what if I want to go ahead and see my birthday 2 years out, right? 2022. So I'm going to come over here and I'm going to keep clicking, and I have to do this manually to go all the way out, because at the end of the day, these are only the 2 arrows that I'm seeing. So and I finally reached 2 years out, and I see, oh, in 2022, my birthday is on Thursday. And I do that and click over here. Now, surprising as that might be to you, there's actually a very easy way to do that. And that's the first tidbit for this one, is you can actually come over here and you can click on the month, and you can even click on the year. So when you see I take my mouse over here and hover it on that, the color changes a little bit. The changing of the coloring actually is a little tidbit. Also, if you know, the mouse changes into the finger. So that's your big tidbit, that actually something happens. So I go and click on that, and voila, the entire 12 months show up over here. Same thing for the year. It all shows up over here. All these months, the years show up over here. Right now, the default is 1970, and it goes all the way up to 2050, and I'll focus on that default a little bit later. But this is the first tidbit, is that you can actually use the left and the right arrow, but you can even click on the month and the year and go a little bit faster. All right, so that's your first little tidbit over there. All right, so let's jump to the second one. And for the second one, I can leave things as it is, and that's about the display mode. So when I come over here and I click on the display mode, by default, there's actually 3 options available, and I'll go over here. All right, so in the 3 options, there's disabled, edit, and view. Now disabled is fine, right? The disabled is when I do this over here, it gets grayed out. It's the view that sometimes confuses people, and it confuses me as well. So let me show you what is that confusing piece. So first, when I come in here and I change the disabled to only view only, this is what shows up over here. Now let me actually try to replicate that. If I click on label, I come over here, and inside I go in and select the same date. You see there is not many, it looks exactly the same. Now the only way you and I can understand is the same is because we're actually looking at the controls. When I click over here, that's the date picker. And when I go ahead and click over here, that's just a label. So it can be a little confusing to the end users, especially when you come to a situation that you want people to know that, hey, this is a date, it has been selected, the one that you want, it's just that you don't have the option to go ahead and disable it. If that is the type of scenario they're looking at, then just come to this one over here and change that to disabled. And therefore, people will actually know that, hey, that is the date, because I see a date picker control over there, but it has been disabled for whatever reason, but at least the date is correct. The moment you visually show your end users that that is a date picker over there, it kind of gives them that sense of confirmation that, yes, the correct date has been picked. Because if you show that label, I mean, if you go ahead and change that to a view only, then it could be confusing to the end users. He said, I'm not really sure if this was actually a date or if it was a text, and things like that. So kind of keep that in mind that at the end of the day, you do what works for you. I personally just changed that to disabled, primarily so that I can see that that control over there. All right. So that's the second thing, was disabling the display mode. Let's jump over to the third one, and that is the default date. So like I said, I'm just going to go ahead and delete this for now, and I'll go ahead and put in a fresh one, just so that I know what I'm working with. All right, so I went ahead and added in a date control, and you saw the default date is today. Now, a couple of fun things you can do over there is you can actually mess around with is changing the default date. And the default date is by default today, whatever is the today for you. Today could be something you're building an app 10 days, 10 months, 10 years down the road. Whatever is that day, the day of building the app, that's the date today over there. But it doesn't have to stick to that. You can actually play around with some fun functions called the date add function. And you can play around with that over there because you can manipulate the day, you can manipulate the week, you can manipulate the year, all of that. So let me actually show you a few quick examples. And then in the description, I've actually put in the URL for the Power Apps doc library, where you can use, go and play with the function called date add. And do some diffing over there. Just click on the link and there's some examples, really good examples over there, but I'll show you one example. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to delete this off, and I'm going to go and start typing in date add. So I did the date add over there, and then by default open the brackets. There I'm going to go ahead and do the same today one, which was there. I'm going to close that, and now I'll go ahead and put how many dates do I want to add for today. So I'll say in the first example, I want to add 5 more days. So today, the day I'm building this, I'm building this video is on April 5th. So if I add 5 more days, the date will automatically add up to April 10th. All right, so let's check that. So I get 5, and when I hit another comma, it gives me the options. You want to add how many? You want to add 5 days, you want to add 5 hours, you can even go up to 5 milliseconds. I'm not going to go into that detail. I'm just going to go 5 more days. So I'll do that, and now watch. It went to April 10th. Now if you see on the bottom right over there, it's actually today's date is April 5th, but I went ahead and did it 5, and I added days over there. Now I got some more options, right? I got days. I can come down over here. I can do months. So when I do that, it's jumped straight to September over there, right? So this is just a little example that I showed you, is that in that default one, there is that option over there. All right, so nothing that tough about that. And again, go in the URL. All right, so far I've shown you 3 over there, and some of you may just say, nah, this is not a big deal. All right, I get it. You know, many of you people who are viewing this video are my regular subscribers. By the way, if you're not my subscriber, go down and click like and subscribe, because this will really be helpful for both you and me. All right, I digress. I'm gonna come back over here. All right, so I showed you those 3 things over there, and some of you said, nah, nothing big deal. All right, what else you got? All right, so now I'm going to start showing you some really key things, because many of this you may not have either known or you may not have used. So first things first, let me just, again, delete this so I don't inherit any mess I may have automatically made. So I'm just going to get a fresh new date over here. And now I'm going to go to what is called as in the default date, there is, where did it go? Oh yeah, the week. So here, there's something called start of the week, right? It's been there for a while, and you may not have actually used it, but there's a couple of things. So you see Sunday over here, and actually, let's click on this guy. See, on a fresh new date control that you bring, the original date that you see of the start of the week is always Sunday. It's by default. But what if you're trying to build an app that you want the first day of the week to be the business day, which is Monday? You can change that. So I go over here, I get out of this first, and I come back over here. With that selected, you go to start of the week. When you click on the function of the control place, you immediately see there's some options. There's a couple of options. You can pick any of them from Monday all the way back to Sunday over here. And that's the first thing I can do is, I can change it to that Monday. And now when I go back over here, you see that Sunday has disappeared. In fact, you got moved all the way to the back. And now the first day is Monday. So that's a great way to change that. That's out of the box solution, no code whatsoever involved. It's all over there. But some of you must have said, hey, Daniel, can you go back to that formula place over there? Because I saw 2 Mondays and I just want to confirm the date difference over here. So when I come over here, there's actually Monday. And then if you go back, there's Monday 0. So what's the difference between the two? Because when I do Monday 0, I come back over here and it's the exact same thing. So the difference is not about what you see in the control. The difference is what matters in the back end. And what happens is when you put in just Monday, and I'll show you over here, when you put in just Monday, when you're doing some kind of calculation from Monday to Sunday, what you're going to get is Monday will be number one, and then that Sunday becomes number 7. Remember, this type of numerical values only work when your start of the week is Monday. When your start of the week is Monday, then Monday by default will be number 1, and then Sunday by default will be number 7. Very, very important, very critical for some of the calculations that you may do to factor in things such as salary, paid time off, some dates, whatever it is. These number changes are very critical for that. Now, when I do it to change the Monday from Monday to Monday 0, there's a big difference that happens. The Monday 0 becomes, the Monday 0, just by the way it says, that becomes Monday's, the numerical value changes to 0. Remember, the Monday by itself, its numerical value was 1. But the Monday 0, its numerical value becomes 0, which means that the following Sunday, its numerical value changes to 6. Now, if you just pause and think about that, it says, okay, this is huge when I'm going to do some calculations over there, because that can really affect my numbers. So keep that in mind, because if you want to factor in only a business week with just 6 days in that business for whatever reason, this is what you need to do. Change that start of the week Monday to Monday 0, and everything else will add up over there. All right? Was this one of the new things that you thought, what you have first learned? I bet you this is one of them. Okay, so let's kind of move on. I already showed you 4. Let's jump to the 5th one over here. And in the 5th one, this is more of a FYI/fun things. And that is over here, you have the start of the year and you have the end of the year. So I go back. In fact, I just delete that. If I start typing in, IntelliSense picks it up. So, and just to be sure, I'm going to delete that and I'm going to get a new date picker over here, get that in, and it's start of the week, start of the year. Start of the year is 1970, that's the default, and its end of the year is 2050. But you can change that, and its values are on huge extreme ends. So I was just playing with it to figure out what are the earliest start of the year and what is the latest end of the year, and these were actually the numbers which I just had to keep trying, and this is what I found out. So in the start of the year, I went all the way down to 1000. So watch this, all right? I did 1000, and now when I run it, and I do this one over here, you see how long that drop down changes? So when I go over here, now the start year is 1000. And that is as lowest or as latest as it can, latest it can go. Because if I went ahead and tried to change this to 999, it doesn't change. Now watch out, 999 shows up over here, no errors, no squiggly lines whatsoever. But if I come over here and play it, click on that, it still only stops at 1000. I mean, I'm clicking, it doesn't go, it stops at 1000. So that's as earliest, or as earliest as it can go for the start of the week. But for the end of the year, it is able to go all the way up to 9,999. Right? It doesn't let you go anywhere beyond that, but it allows you to go over there. So that's pretty intense, right? Because at least the people who are using the Power Apps right now may not live till 9,999. But hey, for whatever business reason, when you're building an app, if you need to go as far as 9,999, well, you can go at that far over there. Now, if you have to go to year 10,000, sorry, you can't do that right now. Maybe you can put that request in. But this is what it is right now. These are the two extremes. The start of the year can be up to 1,000, and the end of the year can be up to 9,999. Now, I bet you did not know this, because obviously at the end of the day, you really never had a need to do that. So this could some be just a fun information, could be useless information, but hey, now you know that. All right. So I've already shown you 5 of them right now. Let's jump to 6. Now 6 has got something very interesting. And again, I'll go ahead and delete this to get a fresh one, just so that I can show you something fresh. Now 6 is something called as the input text placeholder. Now that's a big word. So Daniel, what is this input text placeholder? And that's basically, it's just an instructional text to tell the end users. So let's go over here and I'll see what this input text over here. And this is basically telling you, like, if you have not selected anything, if I haven't done anything, then this is what it is. It tells you that, hey, you can go ahead and put in today's text. It goes ahead and gets the language. This is what it is. It's telling you right over here that this is an input text to instruct you to do something, right? But putting in a default date over there can be a little confusing. So what I've shown you is a couple of tricks you can do. All right. So first thing you want to do is you got to come over here. You got to go to the default date, and in the default date, go ahead and just delete that and just put in 0. So the default input text placeholder is telling you this, that if you've got nothing, at least put in some text, in some date, and that date needs to be in that format. But I'm going to take it a step forward. I'm going to put in the input here. I'm actually going to go ahead and comment this out. And here's something you can do, and it's as simple as this. I'm just putting in some text. And in the text, I'm going to say that a date needs to be picked. And there you go. It can be as simple as that. It doesn't have to be a date. It doesn't have to be a text in the date format. It could literally just be some simple text over there. And that is so much more user-friendly to the end user, right? Because it says that when I see something, it tells them 2 things. First of all, it shows them the date control, which means that they, just by viewing it and by intuition, they know that I got to go pick a date. And then by text over there, they say that, you know what, I do need to pick it because that's what the text tells me. So the whole thing about changing the input text placeholder, just by taking this, what could seem like as a formula, you can just replace that formula and put in very simple text over there, and it works. The only thing that you need to do is for that text to work, you got to actually go back to that default date and just go ahead and highlight that and make it blank, and then that will actually work. Now if you had do this today over here, that's the default one. If I went ahead and just put in that, it actually gives you errors over here. That's why I recommend that you just delete that and put in 2 brackets, 2 double quotes, and then that takes care of that. All right, so that was the 6th thing over there, which is the input text placeholder. All right, so now we're all getting into the fun part over here. There's some cool things that are going on, and let's make it even more cooler. So the next one is a common one which I don't see a lot of people using. In fact, I myself was a little confused as what is this, and that is the is editable function available over there. So like, wait a minute, what is this is editable one? All right, so I'm gonna actually delete this out because I did a lot of clicking, and who knows, what I may not have messed up. So I'll bring a fresh one over here, and Let's go to is, and there's is editable, and this is the default. The is editable by default is false. False meaning disabled, nothing happens, it's false. But by default it is false, which means what's going on? Because I can still click on it, I can still pick and choose everything over here. And so that name is a little confusing because it says that is editable, but it is false. But I'm still going in and I can go ahead and edit and do anything. I can change the month, I can go ahead and change this over here. So it's still working. So what is this is editable? Same thing. Okay, so is editable is false. Maybe it's one of those, you know, if yes is no and then no is yes kind of funky things. Let me go and just change that to true and see if is editable is true, which means now if I go in here, I should not be able to do anything, right? I should not be able to click over here. I should not be able to click over there. But it's still working. So can somebody explain to me what this is editable is? And it's a very subtle, but at the same time, very important thing. So let me actually go back and change that is editable back to false, because that back to false is a default one. All right. So now when I click over here, watch this. I'm actually clicking on the text. I'm not clicking on the icon. When I click on the text, that arrow automatically changes to the finger, and I click on it, and it opens up the actual the data control, the date control over there, or the date picker control, and I can go ahead and do all the picking over there. But if I go ahead and change that the is editable to true, there's something that happens, and it is so subtle that you may not even notice it. But watch, this arrow over here, when I take it up, it changes into a place where I can put the text. So instead of me now going ahead and doing all that clicking, finding the month, finding all of that, you could actually go ahead and do that 12/31/9999, and it will take it. See, it will. Well, by default it went only to the 2050, but it will go ahead and change it, because remember I didn't change the maximum date. So it does it. It automatically goes ahead and does it. And the only thing was that subtle difference, and that is editable. I had to change it from false to true. And then in the true, when I now hover up over here, you see the text icon. You don't see that finger icon over there, right? So subtle, but it can be a very important, it could be a game changer to even performing the, helping you fill up the apps faster for your end users over there, right? Very, very important over there. Okay, so we've come up to 7 things now. Let's hit on that last and 9th one, and that is the language. All right, let me get a fresh control again. So I come over here, click on the date picker, and I come in, and there is the language. So by default, language is blank. So you don't even know if it's true, false, what is it? Now, a couple of things about the language is, if you might have already made a guess, that language is, what language are you seeing over here? Now, by default, even though you have nothing over here, and again, because of I'm from the US over here, my default language is US. Because when I put that in, nothing changes. And if I go over here, and right now I'm just hitting Shift and Alt, if I click over here, nothing changes, because that is the default for me. But you can go ahead and actually play around with it. And for that, it's even helpful to look at this language functions option available in the docs over there. I've taken the link for that, and I put that in the description, so go ahead and take a look at that. But I'll show you some examples. I come in over here, and I'll go ahead and say, let's change that from English to Great Britain, which I believe what the GB is. And not a whole lot changes over here. Again, still simple, nothing fancy. Let's make that a little bit more fancier, and go ahead and change that to PT, capital P, capital T. Now, if you noticed while I was typing, something weird happened. And this is what it is. If you put it in this format, the default date always shows up as English. But if I go in here, you see all the text over here has changed to a different language. But if you want that different language to be available right here, then you just take that, and when you take off the uppercase PT or the uppercase characters over here, then the different language shows up over here as well. I'll give you another example. Do that, and watch. In here, I start typing in for French. I do FR, and when I just put the FR, you can see that the French language does show up over here. See, the days of the week, the month, except for the numerical values, those tend to stay that way. But the month and the days of the week, those show up in the different language. But they also show up in the default view over here. But if I change that now to FR, the default view still shows up in the English language, which in my case is English US. But if I go ahead and look inside, that continues to be in the French. So it gives you two options. It allows you to at least keep the default into English if you want, but then inside you can go ahead and put it into French, or you can even change the default to whatever language you want, and that makes it really more user-friendly. All right, so all in all, these were the 8 things that I showed you over there. Granted, the first 2 or first 3 maybe meh, kind of nothing new to you. But hey, I bet you the remaining 5, maybe all 5 of them or some of them, you've never seen before, and this is the first time you've seen them. So if it is, great thumbs up to you, because now you can take that whole calendar date control to the next level. All right, so I've shown you some great new things, 8 of them. Now let me show you some bad things. Now the bad things, again, it's not bad, it's very subtle, but these are the remaining 2 things that you cannot do. And I get asked about this all the time. I get asked in my comments, I get asked in the sessions I speak at, is that, Daniel, why am I not able to do those 2 things? And those 2 things, the first one is that you just cannot change this colorway. And let me show you exactly what this color is. I come over here, and you see this blue color, the one which is right over here in this region over here. You cannot change that color. I mean, you can go and change some of the designs and themes, but this color, you don't have the option to, like I did, drop down over here and just change that color. You don't have that options. Now, I know there's got to be some of you who just red flag this immediately, say, whoa, Dan, I know you can change that, because I've seen apps which have changed this over there. And the answer to that is yes, you can change it. The only way to do that is not by just changing that. You've got to go and change the entire theme. Now remember that changing the entire theme not only affects this control, it affects the entire app. Now if you are ready to do that, go ahead, because watch, when I come over here and I change it to this forest one, it has now changed that color, because remember it was that blue. Now it changed it to green. I could go back in over here, I can go back and just pick something a little bit more subtle. I can go and change it to this steel, and now in steel it has changed this color over here. It's not that same light blue, it's a darker blue, but it's not that green either. It has changed it to that color. But remember, it not just changed it to that control, it went ahead and changed it to the entire app. And the other things is, some of you may say, hey Daniel, did you actually check and test everything? And trust me guys and gals, I have tested everything. I went in and picked each and every one of these things from the colors over there, the icon fills. Obviously the icon fill only changes this icon over here. It doesn't really change anything else. You can go ahead and put in the fill only changes the entire text color over there. Background only change, background can go ahead and change the entire color over there. So I've tried combinations, but the only way you can now change this background over here is by changing the entire theme. So keep that in mind. I think a request for this has already been put in, and you just gotta go vote. We'll see when they go and change that, but for now this is the only thing. Second thing that I get asked a lot, which again cannot be changed, is this functionality. Is I come over here, I go pick and choose everything, and people say, hey Daniel, I've already selected something, but sometimes my end users forget to click OK. So is there any setting that I can use or change that just selecting on this should be enough, such that when my users forget to click OK, at least it remembers what the selection was? And I'm sorry, all my power users, power addicts, that option is not available. But there is a workaround. The workaround is actually you can use your keyboard. Then there's some funky things you can do with the keyboard over here. Some things I may not have talked is in your keyboard selection, you can use something called as a page up. So if I do just page up and page down, and these are the controls that you have, the keys that you have on your keyboard. If I do page up and page down, watch what happens. It changes the months. See? The year is the same, but it has changed the month. So page up and page down changes the months. If you do a shift and a page up, if you hold the shift button, let me click back over here, shift, and you do a page up and page down, The years are changing. But there's another thing you can do. After you've changed the year, the month, you've selected any of this, because if I do toggle left and right now, I've been able to go ahead and select the date too. So remember, page up and page down, change the month, just with the hitting the page up and page down, I change the month, shift page up and page, I change the year, left and right, I change the dates. Now if I just hit enter, it selected that. So granted that the end users, either way, they have to save it somehow, whether it be the OK button or they hit enter. Enter is just one way, right? Those people who are more efficient or who are more, kind of leaning towards the keyboard, they don't have to click and choose and then pick up their mouse and click OK. They can just hit enter. But there is this workaround, right? That granted, you've got to do something to acknowledge what you've selected, but you've got to go ahead and do that. Either clicking on the OK or you hit enter. All right, so the two things, I know that these are kind of a little tedious, that you do have to go ahead and either change the entire theme to get that one color over there, or you got to hit that either the page up, page down, or the shift page up or page down and hit OK, the enter. There's workarounds, right? It does work over there. So all in all, these were the 8 really cool things, and then these were the 2 not so cool things which work around. But this was it. I wanted to pay all my attention to these things over here in the Power Apps, which were the 2 things that you cannot do, and then the 2 things that you can do. And I was able to show all of them. So hopefully this was helpful. Now you know all the fun things that you can do with the date controller, and those 2 things that you cannot, I've shown you some workaround. So as always, keep power apping.